Tonight on Connecticut's news station, gunfire at a gas station outside a busy shopping center. Police say what started with their attempt to engage a suspect in conversation ended with an officer of the law pulling a trigger. We're live at the scene. 5 people in the hospital with critical injuries tonight following the latest head-on crash between 2 cars on one of Hartford's busiest avenues.
And the rain moving out, better weather moving in for New Year's. We'll have your ball drop forecast ahead.
Now at 10, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Good evening on this final Saturday night of 2023. I'm Carmen Chow. We are following a developing story tonight. A busy day finding bargains was suddenly interrupted this afternoon by the sounds of gunfire. The shots rang out on the Hartford Pike in Killingly this afternoon at a fast food place located in a shopping center in the Dayville neighborhood, where police say they were trying to speak to a man, and tonight that man is in the hospital with gunshot wounds. Fox 61's Jake Garcia is live in Windham County at the Killingly Commons. Jake?
Well, Carmen, investigators say it all started just around 1:30 this afternoon at this gas station near the Killingly Commons shopping center. And as you can see, just 8 hours later, or more than 8 hours later, police finally clearing the scenes and opening up the nearby roads. Now, what investigators say started as an investigation into suspicious activity ended with a man being shot by police. Connecticut State Police say a state trooper and a Killingly police officer were responding to a suspicious incident at a mobile gas station. Investigators say when they attempted to speak to a suspect, police fired their weapon. It's unclear if the officer involved was a state trooper or a Killingly police officer. People who work nearby say it started at the gas pumps and ended near the back of this Taco Bell.
State Police for an injured person, 1068 Killingly Commons Drive, the rear of Taco Bell.
Lisa Moffett told us everyone was talking about what happened.
From what people have told me is that it was a police chase, that, they went to tase the guy, and the guy reached in his pocket, and so they shot him.
A man in his 40s was taken to Day Kimball Hospital with a gunshot wound to the chest. LiveStar was requested, but was not able to fly due to weather conditions. People who live and shop nearby are shocked to hear something like this happening in their small town.
That's very unusual around here. It's pretty quiet. I came down the road. There was many police cars along the road, and this was blocked where I came in, so I figured it wasn't the mall.
This area of Connecticut they call the quiet corners of Connecticut because we don't have a really high percentage of criminality or theft or killing or that type of death by the police officers, and they call that for a reason. The quiet corner of Connecticut.
Moffett says her heart goes out to the people who may have witnessed the shooting.
It's very sad because there's so many children that come here. Their parents, and I have children myself, and I would not want them to see this.
It looks like we're just dealing with some technology issues with Jake there. We'll get back to him in just a few minutes here. But tonight's incident is the 20th officer involved shooting this year throughout the state, 7 in the past couple of months. On October 16, officers responded to a home on North Airline Road in Wallingford. When officers arrived, they spoke with a woman who stated her boyfriend Donald Passmore shot himself in the bedroom. Once officers made contact with Passmore, he told officers to put their flashlights down and threatened police while refusing to listen to verbal commands. At this point, approximately 10 shots were fired at Passmore. He was eventually pronounced dead at Midstate Medical Center. Happening on the same day, a man died after police say an officer shot him during an exchange of gunfire on Westland and Barber Streets in Hartford. Police received a call about a car with an armed person who was threatening people. He was identified as 44-year-old Jamie Grant. Police say when officers pulled over Grant, he got out of his vehicle with a gun in his hand. The officer fired multiple times, hitting Grant, who later died. On October 20th, a person was shot and killed by a Prospect police officer in the evening on Merriman Lane. Officers responded for a report of a possible disturbance. When officers arrived, a man in the house identified as 48-year-old Michael Strank opened a kitchen drawer and grabbed a knife. Strank was ordered to drop the knife, but threw the knife towards the open window where an officer was standing. Strank then ran at one of the officers with the knife, and at that point, 2 shots were fired at Strank, killing him. On November 26th, 3 officers shot a man at a hotel in New London. They responded to the America's Best Value Inn on Bayonet Street, where a witness told them 42-year-old Christopher Nolan went into a room and shot at someone out of his window. Nolan then ran to the Clarion Hotel, where officers searched for him there, and when they did, he had a gun in his hand. Officers fired several shots at Nolan, where he was later listed in good condition at the hospital. On December 1st, West Haven police arrived at an apartment on Terrace Avenue. The call was for a domestic complaint. A person told officers 33-year-old Jovan Washington was allegedly trying to strangle her and not let her leave the apartment. When officers told Washington he was going to be taken into custody, he moved towards a closet, reached under the mattress for a gun, and fired 1 shot at an officer. That is when another officer fired multiple shots back at Washington, where he was later pronounced dead. The most recent one in Pawcatuck last Thursday, this incident left many with broken hearts. State police were attempting to serve a warrant for 42-year-old Vaughn Malloy on Mechanic Street. After not responding to officers' verbal commands, Malloy was seen running out of his home, and that is when K-9 Bronco was released to apprehend him. Malloy fired shots at K-9 Bronco, and that is when officers fired back at Malloy, who later died. The following Friday morning, it was announced K-9 Bronco had died. A procession was held at Piper Veterinary Hospital in Middletown, where law enforcement members from across the state showed up for support. And again, in total, there have now been 20 officer-involved shootings this year. We've only touched on the most recent incidents in the past couple of months. You'll find more detailed information about all the rest at the website of the Office of Inspector General. Time now for the Weather Watch. This entire week has been nothing but drizzly and gloomy. When will we finally see the sun? Let's get our first check of the forecast with meteorologist Ryan Breton. Hi, Ryan.
Carmen, you don't have to wait any longer. Tomorrow is our day. Some places did see a bit of sun this afternoon, but tomorrow we will have a lot more of it. The rain moving away. There were a couple of showers on the shoreline this evening, but if you look out tonight, you may see some stars in spots, which is a big change from the weather we've had for about the last week. So overnight, we'll have temperatures dropping down to the low and mid 30s in most spots. Sunshine out the door in the morning. We'll have plenty of sunshine through the day tomorrow, mixing with some cloudiness in the afternoon. And then these clouds will start to thicken up toward tomorrow evening and tomorrow night. And aside from a flurry that maybe happens around midnight, I think the weather will be in pretty good shape for most New Year's Eve plans. If you're looking to go to some fireworks, there are 2 shows, I believe, in Hartford. One at 6 o'clock, another at midnight. We'll be at 39 at 6 o'clock, 36 at 9 o'clock, and down to about 34 degrees at midnight. There could be a stray flurry or 2 out there at midnight, including down in New York City for the ball drop. There might be a sprinkle or brief shower down that way. We will talk about how long the nice weather sticks around, and there are a couple of storms that will form, but they don't look like they'll hit us for a change. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a few minutes. Carmen?
Ryan, thank you. Now to Middletown, where 5 men have been arrested and charged for allegedly invading a home today. Police say this happened around 10:20 a.m. on South Main Street at the Wilcox Apartments. A caller to 911 said they saw those men break into the home and then screams were heard. When officers arrived on scene, 4 of the 5 suspects hopped into a purple Cadillac and drove off. Police gave chase for miles until the Cadillac crashed on the Hartford Turnpike, which led to their arrest. One suspect who tried running away was eventually caught by police. All 5 suspects are facing charges of home invasion, robbery, assault, and much more. One person inside that Middletown home was pistol whipped. 2 others were zip tied, while the suspects stole high-end valuables from their home. Also, Middletown police tell us this case was the final one for K-9 Officer Coda, who is retiring tomorrow. Congratulations to him and his handler, Officer Matthew Bloom. A woman who was one of the 5 people critically injured in this head-on crash early this morning in Hartford spent an agonizing 6 minutes as firefighters had to cut her out of the wreckage. But she survived along with the 4 men in both cars. It happened on Franklin Avenue just after 2 a.m. We're working to get more information on the victims and how this happened. Also early this morning, 2 vehicles collided in Newington, and at least one of them wound up smashing into the side of a house. It happened on Miami Avenue. Amazingly, we're told nobody was hurt in this crash. A scary moment for firefighters in Boston today who heard gunshots when they arrived at an apartment building that was on fire. This was shortly after 11:30 this morning. Instead of battling the blaze, the firefighters had to huddle for safety under balconies. SWAT units immediately responded, evacuated residents, and secured the location where police believe the shots were fired from. Eventually, the suspect was found and arrested. He did have a slight injury from jumping out of a window. After the arrest, firefighters were able to finish putting out the flames. Nobody else was injured other than the suspect. And also Massachusetts, a deadly shootout between police and the former interim fire chief from New Bedford. One officer was wounded in the gun battle but was treated at a hospital and released. Police say Paul Coderre had been drinking, refused to give up his car keys, and when police showed up, he got violent. A taser proved ineffective, and that's when Coderre opened fire. Police returned fire and killed Coderre. He was 55 and had been fired last year for dishonesty about a work injury.